Whether you're a series veteran or cautiously observe from afar, everybody's at least a little familiar with the challenging and unforgiving genre pioneered by developer From Software, and its impact on the industry as a whole cannot be understated. Perhaps most synonymous with this series are the bosses. From the humanoid to the hulking, the adversaries we've faced over the last 10 years perfectly capture what the Souls and Borne series are all about, and with the newest chapter, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, releasing this week, we thought we should have a look at the bosses that made the biggest impact on us. Now, I know people are very passionate about this series, so allow me to clarify. This is not a ranking of the best, the hardest, or even the sexiest bosses, the rotten. We're looking at you. Hell, this isn't even a ranking as such, as every series entry will get a fair shake in this list. No, the following are the big boys and girls who took our breath away. Let's look at them, shall we? I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are the 10 most impactful SoulsBorne bosses. Number 10. Tower Knight, Demon Souls. So you've made it through the Boletaria Palace and set fire to this disgusting nest of shielded stab boys. Then you ran across 2 bridges where a dragon does the fantasy equivalent of a drive-by. What more could this level possibly throw at me, you think, hoping for an archstone sword to return you to the comfort and safety of the Nexus? Then this fella rears his massive head. Oh good. To make matters worse, that laughing idiot at the back then orders archers to take position, but thankfully there are actually only a couple of crossbowmen on each side rather than the 5 the cutscene lied to us about. Additionally, the steel-clad behemoth has some real Achilles stuff going on, so you can poke away until he topples over, where massive damage can then be done to his head. It's the first time From Software teaches you that all such bosses will have a weakness that you must discover and exploit, as up until he has a great fall, you're practically a desk fan wafting air at him. Given that this colossal lad is only the second boss you face in Demon Souls, his gargantuan size almost certainly took many players aback the first time they saw him. Number 9. ORNSTEIN and SMOUGH, Dark Souls. Of course they're here! Old Pikachu and Fatty, as they're lovingly known, have been terrorizing the Dark Souls community for a long old time now. Initially teasing a one-on-one fight with SMOUGH. SMOUGH? ORNSTEIN wastes little time jumping in to have a go as well. Oh, that's nice. Complementing one another perfectly by combining size and power with speed and electricity, I panicked like an idiot on my first try, and you probably did too. And with good reason. Because when you do manage to take down one while evading the other, any damage you dealt to the survivor will be undone, with the remaining boss absorbing the essence of his fallen friend? Maybe? Whatever they are. This means you can either face a giant electric tank or a massive lightning cannon. Your choice. Most will leave SMOUGH for last, as he's a little easier to deal with, and your reward once you emerge victorious? The Lord Vessel that allows you to fast travel, and some naughty notes. They're big, they're tough, and the absolute health and safety nightmare you had to navigate to even reach them will ensure your experiences in Anor Londo haunt you long after you've gone. Number 8. Cleric Beast, Bloodborne. Bloodborne begins with you awaking in a clinic while a man puts his blood in you. Fun! Essentially Dark Souls gone gothic Lovecraftian. The first area's enemies include unwell dogs, poorly people, really unwell dogs, very poorly people, and crows. What? Oh god, get out of my face! Your first hour spent trudging around Yharnam leaves you wondering just what kind of horrid bosses FromSoft have cooked up this time. Then you begin climbing a ladder, only to hear this. Right. Eventually making your way over a bridge, you hear it again. And then this massive thing gets really angry and runs at you! The fight itself is perfectly balanced for a first boss, encouraging fancy footwork and making use of your sidearm for well-timed visceral attacks. Stay out of its reach and you're probably going to be fine. Get too enthusiastic and you're gonna get mulched. One of the few bosses to so perfectly foreshadow its arrival a good half an hour or so before you even see it, the Cleric Beast was one hell of a way to kick off Bloodborne and set the stage for some truly excellent boss fights. Number 7. Abyss Watchers, Dark Souls 3. One of the 5 Lords of Cinder, the Abyss Watchers are instantly recognizable to most as a faction representing the interests and achievements of series favorite Artorias the Abyss Walker. However, something seems to have gone a little wrong here, as when we first arrive, they're fighting each other, which is odd. Luckily, Jeff the Abyss Watcher, I call him Jeff, is successful and decides to start beating you up instead. Turns out the soul of Cinder is passing between them, hence the infighting, and after a certain amount of time has passed or health has been lost, a second and third Abyss Watcher will spawn. But wait, that's not fair, you cry. Well, luckily, Jeff has enemies, and Beth the Abyss Watcher will rock up with red eyes and take the fight to Jeff's friend. Once defeated, Jeff will enter a second phase with an alternate attack pattern, and his sword will now be on fire. It's a really pretty fight that plays with fun ideas, from pitting you against two aggressors before help arrives to the mesmerizing fire attacks Jeff does in his second form. It's a love letter to the Artorias fight from Dark Souls 1, and I love it. Number 6. Looking Glass Knight, Dark Souls 2. Emerging onto a ringed roof with rain pouring down all around you, the shiniest boy in all of Dark Souls 2 awaits. Armor polished to a pristine mirror-like sheen and great shield looking a bit like a blackberry tart, the two of you begin circling each other, the operatic music swelling underneath. I actually played this fight a few times at an event before the game's launch, after, I should stress, Peter Serafinowicz had a go. You know, actual Brian Butterfield and voice of mild-mannered Pate. That's the one cool story I know. It's not even that cool. Besides being quite the spectacle, Mirror Man will draw lightning down from the actual storm raging around him, and every so often he'll plonk his shield down and release an NPC to complicate the fight. It can even be a player. If one were to put their invasion sign down in the castle preceding the fight, there's a chance they can be summoned in by the Looking Glass Knight to help mess up a player, and that is very good. Number 5. Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower, Bloodborne. Oh, Maria. Bloodborne has a number of NPC-style fights, usually against other good hunters, wherein a regular-sized enemy exhibits many of the traits utilized by actual players in PvP fights, except, they don't stab themselves at the halfway point to become even harder, better, faster, stronger. Residing in the Old Hunters DLC, Maria is the perfect encapsulation of such a fight. Guarding the entrance to the secrets and atrocities committed by the first hunters, she initially appears to be deceased, but upon interacting with her, she grabs you, pulls you close, and sniffs your hair.
Because I'm worth it.
She has 3 phases, each with a growing moveset, and sometimes she'll do a blood explosion, which is lovely. Maria is also really fast and zips all over the place like a player would, but there are also ties between her and the doll in the hunter's dream, who is not fast, I assume. Some assert that she's the inspiration and that GEHRMAN was probably a big, creepy fan. Speaking of which, do not Google her without a safe search on. A few of you are probably just as infatuated with her as creepy old man GEHRMAN, and I nearly got fired twice just writing this entry, so cheers for that. Number 4. Storm King, Demon Souls. The Storm King isn't a hard fight per se, in fact it's probably one of Demon Souls' easiest, but it is very visually impressive. Emerging from the cramped caves and tunnels into a wide open space on a cliff edge populated by large stone shards and a ruined settlement, the sky is filled with flying stingrays that just want to shoot big spikes at you. Chief among them is the Storm King, an enormous flying fortress that also wants to fire big spikes at you. Now clearly you're just a bit too short to box with God, and unless you have a million arrows, this fight is impossible. But, thankfully, there lies a sword at the cliff edge named Storm Ruler, and that's your ticket to victory.
That's for Steve Irwin! What a beautiful snake!
Using the sword will fire a shockwave directly at the beast, dealing big damage. You've just got to rinse and repeat until it dies, really, but it's such a spectacle that we had to include it here. There was even a callback to it in the Dark Souls 3 boss fight with Yorm. Aww. Number 3. Slave Knight GAEL, Dark Souls 3. Seemingly one of the oldest undead in the entire series, old Unky GAEL is a slave knight from a long-forgotten kingdom. He made a promise a long time ago to a painter of worlds that he would fetch for her the pigment coloured like the dark soul of man. And inevitably, this means he goes a bit mad, as NPCs are prone to do in Dark Souls, so when we encounter him at the conclusion of the Ringed City DLC, he's significantly bigger and far less sane. Beard's on point though. Taking place at the very end of the world, it's fitting that he's the very last boss in the Souls series. Rusted and withered sword at his side, he scampers around on all fours, flipping around and generally making a massive nuisance of himself. After a certain point, a cutscene will trigger where you make him bleed his own blood, and with a renewed sense of purpose, GAEL will get back on his own 2 feet and be on fire. Cool. He also has a rapid fire crossbow he'll whip out every so often, and just look guys, he's just a really cool fight, okay? Also, lightning will start striking the arena, I mean come on! Number 2. Artorias the ABYSSWALKER, Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, you have to kill a dog. A giant dog named Sif, who diligently watches over his master's grave and reluctantly engages you to prevent you from pilfering a key item. He almost made it onto this list by these merits alone, but in the Artorias of the Abyss DLC, you get to fight his master, Artorias of the Abyss. Last name DLC. Getting sucked back through time, or something, you encounter this Knight of Legend on his quest to stop the spread of the Abyss, in this instance personified by Manus, a real dick. But sadly, he has succumbed to the Abyss, and we must end him. Now, given that you're from the future where the spread of the Abyss has been halted, how can the man credited with stopping it have felt, okay, it was us, in the past? Clever. Or confusing, one of the two. In any case, to even attempt to hold the Abyss, you must first face off with Artorias, and he is not well. One arm hanging limply at his side, this flippy boy will mess you up if you're not careful, and those AoE attacks are rough. Get it? Like a dog's bark because Sif. By the way, Sif is also in this DLC as a puppy, and if you face Sif after defeating Artorias, a different cutscene will play where he recognizes you. Why must the dog make me feel? Number 1. GEHRMAN the First Hunter. Bloodborne. I'm only going to say this once. Faking a disability and claiming benefits is an incredibly serious crime. Not only does it take away support from those who really need it, but it can carry jail time in England and Wales under the Social Security Administration Act 1992, under the Theft Act 1978, or the Fraud Act 2006. So please, explain to me why this wheelchair-bound old man pulls a Grandpa Joe and starts dancing all over the shop.
I haven't done this in 20 years.
Oh. Grandpa!
Lulling you into a false sense of security by his presence in the Hunter's Dream Safe Space Hub and the various pieces of guidance and advice he offers throughout the game, GEHRMAN the First Hunter has secretly been really good at hunting all along. And without collecting 3 umbilical cords, he's the last boss in the game. Once the criteria are met, returning to the Hunter's Dream will result in the doll letting you know that GEHRMAN awaits you in a whole new area that's been right under your nose the entire time. If you refuse to give in to his demands, he says this.
Tonight, GEHRMAN joins the hunt.
Which is rad, and then kicks your ass for 20 minutes. The fact this fight takes place in the Hunter's Dream under a huge imposing moon and with one of the best pieces of music in the entire series playing underneath makes this boss fight absolutely one of the most impactful encounters in all of SoulsBorne, and GEHRMAN, with his scythe, is an absolute powerhouse. Please, From Software, give us the Bloodborne 2 that we crave. And there we have it, 10 hugely impactful boss fights from the SoulsBorne series. This was a very subjective one to put together, so please let me know which fights most affected you in the comments below. Also, that Sekiro's looking good. Eh? You can follow myself and TripleJump on Twitter here, and while you're at it, why not support the things you enjoy by having a look at our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and thanks for watching.